Right, today's chapter on networks and communications on ethic and network management. So, well, there are some similarity in for today's topics, also in a way about the assignment. Not that you'll use a lot of materials or information from this, but this will give you a sense that when you do network planning, okay, which is quite similar to your assignment, right? In terms of network planning, what are the things? Okay, so today's topics will cover a little bit more than the assignment. Okay, so because the assignment didn't ask you to do a lot of planning state, capacity planning, for example, right? Didn't really ask you to do about feasibility studies, but basically we gave you a budget to work on, right? So, so there is some extra in the last topics for today. So basically, it's very important, okay, where you do planning, and you need to analyze and you need to do risk assessment, right? So a lot of places need to have risk management, right? Just like if you in the finance sector, in the banking sector, they also sometimes got other than relational managers. Okay, you also got risk manager, right? So these are the people who are professional people who analyze the risk in any investment, right? So they will be the one who going to tell you whether it's feasible, is it less risky, okay, or is it worth, okay, putting your money in some risky area, high risk, okay, investment. So that's why there are professionals that basically do this kind of a risk analysis. So planning and analysis, feasibility studies, and we're going to we need also sometimes we need network managers to basically perform network management. Okay, it's not an easy job. Okay, so sometimes you really need a process. You need to process some computer skills, okay, such as networking skills, but not more than just networking skills. You also need to have some financial skills, especially those who know accounting. That's a very good bonus when you need to know how to generate certain cash flow statements. You might need to do some return of investment kind of analysis, or even formulate a payback period, right? So you must ensure that the companies actually earn money and not losing too much money, right? Isn't it? So it's very important, right, that you are able to attain some financial literacy skills, okay, especially be able to read some of these financial statements like P&L statements, okay, that is very important, right? So because that is a lifelong skill, right? After you graduate from your degree courses, right, you have studied about more than 20 years, okay, studying, right? After you graduate, you're going to spend maybe 3/4 of your life, okay, or even more than 50% of your life chasing after money. And that is something that is very essential. And what is most essential is not so much, sometimes not so much of the technical skill, but your financial skills, okay, to be able to get your money to work hard for you instead of you working hard for the money or you chasing the money, right? So you must always plan about all this investment, okay, and be able to look at even simple things. Even if you buy stock and shares, right, you need to look at balance sheets, right? You need to look at all this revenue, okay, and budgets, okay. All these are very important, okay, especially if you're looking at project manager managing a project. You also need budgeting, right? That's why in the assignment we are giving you a budget, okay, so that you can use within the resources, okay. And so network managers also need to have process management skills to be able to manage the people, right? So managing people is not that easy, right? Especially if you were to manage with some seniors, okay, somebody older than you, right? So like most of you, when you start off job, sometimes you end up a project manager job. So you might be guiding or even managing, okay, people who are older than you. So how are you going to manage their respects? How are you going to earn their respect for you, right? So you got to prove your case, and you got to be able to manage people. So the soft skills is also very important. Okay, these are skills that usually will not expire. Later on, you'll find that interpersonal skills, financial skills are very important because these are skills that it add value to you, right? And you will become more valuable rather than technical skills, right? Technical skills will expire. Okay, even you go and get a lot of certification, there's always some expiry date. So assignment due, I think it will be, I don't know, next, I'll let you know. Usually it's the end of next lab, okay? Next lab, okay? A few days after next lab. So likely will be next week, sometime next week, end of next week, right? So just make sure you can try to wrap it up. What? There's some requirements, any simultaneous course along with this course. Yeah. So like I say, you need to get some financial skills, project management skills, right? And financial skills are important, right? So good to get an MBA, right? I also got MBA, right? So even then you have a technical skills, good to have a financial skill, how to manage finance. These are very important. Technical skills, you can pick it up along the way, right? But financial skills, like I say, is very important to be able to do budgeting, to do accounting. You must be able to do what is general ledger, right? I'm sure some of you have taken up that. That will be good, okay? Right, every business have a number of goals. So all the business will have some KPI, right? So they will need to manage, right? So they will need to manage their resources. Like I say, a lot of companies, they don't have a lot of money. They don't have a lot of resources. They will cut corners. They will save on even on IT, right? They will only adopt IT when it's going to help them to generate more revenue or even do cost saving or do some automations, right? Or do some work that's more effective, right? So there are methodologies, right? If you study project management, you will sure learn about this SDLC, System Development Life Cycle. It's just a method, it's just a process, not a structured way to do things. Right? Some of the things might be very obvious. Some of you think, project management are very easy, just very straightforward. Actually, no need to learn. But it's still important to learn so that you know some of the best practices. What are the tools that can help you, right? In terms of like coming out with a Gantt chart. Okay? Do you know how to use a Gantt chart? Do you know how to use a Microsoft project? Do you know how to manage the manpower resources? Well, manpower resources is not easy, right? Especially asking you to come up with a budget or even how much money is required to develop an application. Do you know? That's some of the project or sales manager job, right? To be able to come up with some quotations, right? So if you are keen in becoming some of these salespeople, then you must be able, okay, to derive the cost that's required and how much money is there for the company to earn. Okay, how much markup is necessary? How much money is required to buffer? Right? You cannot plan a budget so accurately, okay, and right to the cents, and then you just cost it accordingly. There must be some revenue, there must be some profit margin, okay, and doesn't mean all the profit margin is the boss will like it, right? Maybe you'll say 5%, do so much work for 1 year, it's just only giving us a 5% margin. They might not be enough, right? So you got to have a certain range of markup, right? Typically, people may mark up the margin as much as 40%, right? Just to be on the safe side, right? Because there will always be problem. Okay, there will always be new thing or new requirement that will come out, and there will always be new costs that suddenly bulge out, right? Or new delays. Okay, what happens if the project get delayed? Okay, by 1 week, 2 weeks. Okay, you might not think that 1 week, 2 weeks is a lot, but when you consider, when you start running a company, you'll realize that, wow, 1 week, 2 weeks, if you got just 5 diploma students, let's say you got just 5 diploma students, and you pay them each what $2,000 per month, okay, for example, not a lot, huh? 2,000 fresh diploma. You go and check how much every month, okay, you need to pay them, right? You've got 5 diploma, either as a designer, as a programmer, 5 diploma already $10,000, okay, per month. Okay, so half a month is about what, $5,000, right? So if that's for delay of 2 weeks, okay, and that not even considering your office space, your rental space, your utility bills and all this. And what happens if you got one project manager and you pay the project manager like 6K per month, okay, or 8K per month, right? So how are you going to sustain them, right? If there's no new projects coming or there's no new business coming, right? So you got to contain the cost, right? You got to size it up correctly, right? Every 1-2 weeks delay can cost a lot of money, right, to the company. So SDLC, system development cycle, there's always several phrases, right? These are the common phrases that you will go through: planning, analysis, design, implementation, etc. Right? So it's a cyclic process, right? Which means that you will never end. You will iterate. You will go round and round, right? So so you always start out with some planning, right? So you plan to do this. What are the things required? You analyze, you research, right? Then you start to design your network architecture, the system architecture. Then you implement, right, and maintain. Start your operational activities, maintain it, and then you realize there's some mismatch, right, in the business goal, okay, or some new requirements. So you might need to do certain planning again. New planning need to be done. So it's like a life cycle. That's why it's called a system development life cycle. Forever, right? Your system that you develop, there's always be new maintenance, new upgrade. Okay, even if you develop accounting software, there will always be new things, and either new new platform, right? Like now Windows 11 coming out, right? So most of us are running on Windows 10, and so if you have developed an applications like some cash flow statements or some financial statement or some ERP system, right, enterprise resource planning system, or some CRM, customer relationship management system, then your app can it still support when everybody start upgrading to Windows 11, right? So sometimes it might not be your problem with your program or your application, but because of new operating system, new underlying operating system that are upgrade, and then your app must be able to either be compatible or still support and run well on a new operating system or new platform, right? So there are always things like this will change, right? Not just software, but it can also be hardware changes, right? Especially when we talk about network analysis, network design in this particular module, right? So there's always be scalable. Okay, there are more people signing up, so traffic, network traffic has actually grown, right? Or from a 50 manpower kind of a company, it has grown to 75 or even 100. So you might need to extend, okay, or expand your network, right? So typically there's a person who called the system analyst, right? Or you can call it the project manager or whatever. Okay, so they are basically responsible for managing a project. Okay, using usually the standard is they use this system development life cycle. Like I say, these are just the normal, obvious kind of phases, right? But there will be some changes, right? It depends on your company that you join. You might need to tweak a bit. So that is the recommended best practices or SOP, standard operating procedure. But you got to make sure that you don't just use the cycle as it is. Sometimes you might need to refine, okay, or tune it to according to your companies, right? So system analyst basically is responsible for system design or coming up with a system architecture, right, or network architecture, so that it can pretty well support the requirement, okay, the necessary requirement, and also to meet the business objective and be able to finish the whole project on time, okay, which is very important, right? Which is time is money, right? So every project, okay, there is a time, right? So next time, like last time, I was in the ST engineering, right? Every week, we have to do time chart, time sheet, no? We have to tell exactly how much hours we spend on development, how much hours we spend on research, how much time we spend on debugging on certain project. And every project got a budget, right? So we must make sure that the budget, okay, are well contained, and you don't go and explode the budget, right? Otherwise, you find that the budget, your project budget, or the project that you're on, no more money, right? And then where are they going to draw the money from to pay your salary, right? So you must be ensure that you finish your project on time, right? Because if you do not finish the project on time, then it cause delay, and that delay might have affect my new projects, right? So there are new sales people who manage to get some new project for the companies, and then you can't even start it, or that has also got a very that's a disaster for the company. They couldn't start on time, right? That will cause a delay, and all these projects might have a launch date, right, where people will want to launch it or get ready. So some of the deadlines are fixed, just like your assignment, right? Assignment is fixed, right? You want to delay, can penalty or pay penalty, right? So it all has to be signed on the dot. So that's where the planning phase is very important, right? The planning. So that's where the Gantt chart is important, where you need to have the plan schedule versus the actual schedule, right? The planning are very important, because for every planning, right? At least you got a plan, right? At least you don't plan to fail, right? So you have a plan. And once you got this plan, next time you might be able to reuse some of this plan, right? If it's proven effective, it's proven correct, right? Because a lot of time when you take on a project, people will ask you, how much time do you need, right? How much time do you need, right? Just like next time when you buy a house, right? You want to renovate a house, right? A lot of us will ask, hey, so how long it takes to paint the whole house? How long it takes to renovate my house? Hack the wall, you got to give some estimate. How else can you give any estimate, provided you have got some baseline or you have previously done some job before, so that you know, okay, how much time is required, and that fallbacks to how much resources do you have, how much manpower do you have, right? Just like you say want to paint the whole house, right? Good. So how many rooms do you have? And then after you know the whole house, how many walls that need required, how many paint is required, then you also need to know how many painter do you have. Do you got only one painter, or two painter, or three painter, right? So you have to know about your peoples, okay? So as a project manager, you need to know your people well. You need to know their capabilities. You need to know next time you undergo any project, or especially software development, you need to know your programmers' capability, right? How fast are they in developing or coming up with a program, right? Is it 3 months, 2 months? And how much they need to debug or even to test it, right? So there are all these phases that you need to know, right? Because if your programmers are very experienced, very good, and you know they are good and they're very experienced, you know, okay, they can finish it in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. But if you don't know your programmer, and you know their capabilities, then you are basically giving a time that is baseless, okay, and that could be that can be dangerous, right, in terms of planning. So planning is not easy. Just like some people just well, all this assignment is we plan for you, right? 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But later you might be taking up projects that is enterprise, right? Enterprise huge, right? So how, and it can run out to millions of dollars or hundred thousands of dollars, right? So you have to plan properly, right? It's not just thing like you just feel like it will just take 3 months to do it, right? So so you cannot just say that you just drop from the sky 3 months, do it, right? So if you need something that is 3 months, either you get more programmers, right? If along the way you find that your programmer, your workers can't get up to speed, then you got to recruit more people, you got to get in more people. Otherwise, how you shorten the time, right? And when you get in more people, was that included in your initial budgeting, right? You plan for 3 painters, okay? The 3 painter cost, manpower cost how much? If you're going to bring 2 more painters in, that's extra costs, right? Will that over exceed your sales? The sales, the revenue that come in. If it's going to exceed, like I say, if any business that is not worth doing is the business that is going to run into losing money, right? So you might as well don't do it if it's going to lose money. So you got to plan it. So planning is not easy, and it really need a lot of expertise and a lot of experience, right? You got to think of the people that you have, the resources, and the manpower cost that you need, and the manpower cost of all these people, right? So that's why you see when I was in ST engineering, they basically got a very a lot of procedures that come in to ensure that every project, at least there's money to earn, right? Every project schedule has to be kept, right? So the moment is lag a bit, then they will have to escalate and then hasten some of the schedule somewhere, right? So it could be development delay. There are always a lot of things. It could be hardware delivery delay. It could be sudden error in design. And the worst thing is you realize that your whole design is wrong. Then you got to redo everything, and that is very detrimental, right? So you got to do proper analysis. Okay, this is where you need to analyze properly, right? You need to collect enough data. You need to do a lot of questionnaire. You need to gather enough user requirement, and this can be very costly, right? This is all very costly, right? Next time you might get into some tender, okay, where the government come out with a tender and do requests for quotations. And all these exercises are at your own expenses, right? When you do tendering, you need sales, marketing, you need project managers to come in to do an estimate, to come up with a tendering, okay, quotations, okay, based on the requirements, right? And those requirements not very clear, you might need to basically set up a meeting with the user requirements, okay, to assess, okay, to clear some of the doubts, right? So you can't go into a project without asking, without having meeting, right? That can be dangerous by just looking at the tender documents, right? So you have to make sure that your quotation is right and it's very competitive, and you'll be fighting
selective
against,
manga.
sorry. So you'll be fighting against a lot of companies who are vying for the business, right? And of course, if you ever go into a government project tendering, they always choose the cheapest, right? They always choose the cheapest, right? Just like if you have a house renovation, you get a few contractors, naturally you go for the cheapest, right? It's easier to decide. Okay, so you have to make sure, how do you get the cheapest? Well, you have to make sure that you don't overcost, and at the same time you can still earn money, right? So the thing is, you spend so much time, 2-3 months, trying to come up with tender process, do all the analysis, and then at the end you are not awarded the tender, which means what? The 2-3 months that you have put in lots of resources, and all these resources, the manpower is all very costly. They are all like project manager, and risk manager, okay, system analyst, right? All these people can be quite costly, especially when they're very experienced, right? And imagine 2-3 months after the whole tendering and you didn't get it. That's your own cost, right? So you got to find ways to get back some of this money. Okay, so so it's not easy to even to just set up your own companies, right? So what? next time you will know, right? The government, you might say it's cheapskate and all these things, but government, okay, they will be questioned by taxpayer, right? The opposition will always question why you choose this one, why you choose the more expensive one, right? Is it you got some relationship or whatever? So usually it's more justifiable to choose the cheapest, right? So design phase. So you can design, you can so designing is also not easy. So you must base on the requirement, based on the business goal, okay, and based on the phase, right? Implementations even more difficult, right? In fact, implementation is usually the one that have to rush through, right? Because people will take a long time to do analysis, a long time to do designing, but when it comes to implementation, this is where a lot of project managers start squeezing the programmer, the network setup, all these things, right? To squeeze them so that they can abide to the timing, right? And of course, the maintenance phase will be one that is as a more easygoing, right? Where everything become operational, right? So but you still need regular maintenance to ensure that the daily target, okay, business target are always be met, right? So if you just look at the network setup, okay, the network setup, sometimes you need to analyze, okay? So if like the one that we ask you to set up is just a small little office environment, right? But there will be people who ask you to set up a much larger kind of a network traffics, okay, like wide area network, wide area connectivities, right? Where it can be a network for the whole campus, okay, for the whole secondary school or primary school, right? So you might want to have a different type of design. So people might be looking at distance between connections, okay, where especially when the distance become one of the main issues, right? How far is it? Are we talking about kilometers in perimeters, right? Or miles, right? And we also need to look at securities, right? Nowadays, security is also very much one of the important aspect in terms of data securities, right? Is it high, medium, low? And then we're also looking at duplex, full duplex, simplex, and also the data traffics, right? The data rate in bits per second, and also the lagging, right? So these are some quality measurement. People, right? When you want to set up this traffic, people ask you, okay, you set up all these routers, just like I asked you all to set up the routers and the network setup. Some of you might just get the cheapest, never mind, I just get the slowest modem, slowest routers, then people might come up with a specification that, we must make sure that your network must be always reliable, okay, must not be down, there mustn't be too much of a downtime, and the lagging, especially later on they find that, they want to do a lot of video conferencing, suddenly become a lot of Zoom sessions, a lot of video conference call, etc. Right, where previously the client might not have spec it properly. They say, just use it for email system, or just send email, or printing job. Okay, so that might not rely, but suddenly, because of like this pandemic, suddenly everybody going on Zoom, everybody going video conferencing, right? So then, okay, it might have an impact on the kind of hardware that you have, on the kind of a design that you have, right? And the latency, which is the delay, the lagging of your video and your voice, okay, might not be matching. People will get irritated, right? They will say, your network very lagging. Then you find out, because of the hardware, the router that you switch, the baud rate is not fast enough, the modem is not fast enough. And also people look at the quality of services. So there are measurements, there are units, okay, that basically are there to do some benchmarking, right? And also the delivery rate, which is actually the throughput of the network, okay? So example, you could be setting up, okay, like the Starlink, I mentioned about the Elon Musk, so he's setting up even worse, all over to the space, right? So that is even more high level of complexity, right? It's even more than just wide area network. right? Super ultra, going up to the space and coming down. So you got the uplink and downlink, and have so many thousands of satellites that you need to manage, and traffics and users, and especially also in the ocean. So crews in the ocean, how you're going to manage those traffics, right? So so there are parameters like this, which is what we have just gone through, right? The distance in miles, okay, securities, medium, okay, the duplex is full duplex, okay, the kind of speed is what, 256 kilobits per second, which is actually very slow. Nowadays, everything go up to megabits per second or even gigabits per second, right? And latency, okay, L, okay, these are all the things that we run through here, right? So you might see that there are specifications like this, which I actually didn't put in the assignment. Okay, so I could have easily put all this information that, oh, you set up the network, it must, the distance around, how much the office space is, how big, okay, and what is the security level. Okay, we haven't even gone to the security level, right, where you might need to set up VPN if the security level is high, right? So you might need to plug in some VPN server or software. Okay, you might need to have some encryptions that going on, right? So these are extra specs, okay, in terms of network design. Okay, these are all very real. So in any tendering system, for you to set up, even as simple like I mentioned, you might be cast as a contractor to help a primary school or a kindergarten to set up a Wi-Fi system, because nowadays even small kids, they also use tablet. Okay, they also use iPad to learn things. Okay, so they need a Wi-Fi setup, they need all this network, and they will command that, oh, you need to have this kind of throughputs, you need to have this kind of quality of services, etc. So these are all very important, okay, criteria, right, in your network setup. Okay, so what you might do in your assignment is just maybe can connect. So the thing is, sometimes can connect, the two computers can talk to each other. It's just not good enough. You got to meet all this quality of services, like QoS. Okay, you must meet this minimum, and this could be the minimum requirement, right? This could be the minimum requirement. You must at least meet some of these requirements. So here got others, right? So they will spell out. So all this, okay, can be expected in any network design. Okay. So these are nodes. Okay, nodes could be machine routers, okay, that you are connected with. So you can see these are some of the connectivity map, okay, approximate one. So these are nodes. Okay, so it could be switch, it could be machine, right? And you connect to a server farm. Server farm are usually a pool of server that can share resources, either the hard disk space, the web hosting space, the email, or any others, okay, or applications, etc. Right, so system analyst, not easy job. Project manager, not easy job. They, other than doing budgeting, they also need to assess the technical feasibility. Can it be done? Can the system work? Okay, can it be created? Can it be implemented using existing technologies? Right, and is it financially? Okay, so you can see that system analysts need to ensure that the technically is implementable, feasible, financially is good, is doable, right? It's very important, right? So that at least the company got money to earn, right? If the project got no money, it's going to make a loss. Like I say, it's better off don't do, right? You do already breed money worse, okay? You might as well sleep at home, right? So, and also must make sure that it's operational. Means that once your system is up, it must be reliable, it must be consistently meet the requirements or meet the quality of services. Right? Doesn't mean that, wow, okay, I set up on first day it meet. After that, cannot meet already. After that, cannot, right? So you also must be able to meet the different, the operationally, it must be sustainable. Okay, we'll talk more about this, where you have to spec out, okay, the capacity properly, right? And you have to deal with peak hours, off-peak period. Okay, you can't control some of the traffic. Some traffics will go very high. Some traffic will go very low. Just like yesterday, right? Yesterday is what day? It's single day. It's 11 of November. Okay, it's a day where if you know, everybody go online to buy things, right? So if your system, your network is not spec up properly for this kind of surge in network traffic, such surge in people buying things online, then you be prepared your system to fail. Okay, you didn't do a lot of load balancing. Your system failed to scale up. Okay, accordingly, right? So you find that this kind of peak can be tremendous, right? Can go up, and that can have a great impact on business. Okay, especially the e-commerce, right? So if you see, if you heard yesterday news, right? Alibaba, a lot of people go to Alibaba, Taobao, Tmall to buy things. They every year they will see a sudden increase, okay, in the sales. Right? Like yesterday I heard was like 40% more than last year. Right? Every year they have got such increase in transactions, and these are billions of dollars of revenue. Right? So they cannot afford this day to fail. Okay, it will cost the company a lot of money. Okay, and a lot of opportunity, not just lose money. Okay, if you lose money, still not bad, not too bad. But the problem is you will lose your opportunity, okay, to your competitors, right? So if people cannot buy things on Tmall, cannot buy things on Alibaba, what they do? Your competitor is just one click away. You will just switch to Shopee, Lazada, Easy Buy, okay, Amazon, their biggest competitors. So you got to make sure that this network traffic can hold for all such peak hour search. People will just buy, and you'll find that after 11/11 will be the 12/12. But almost every month since the November, if you have follow through, right? 8th of August, 9th of September, 10th of October, 11th of November, 12th of December. It's always a shopping free, right? It's almost every month have a lot of things to buy online. Okay. By the way, I also buy a lot yesterday. So time feasibility, right? So system can construct. Okay, so you must also ensure that your timing, okay, must finish your assignment on time. Just like good planning, right? Why is it some students can always finish ahead? You see, like people already asking, when is the due date for assignment, and they want to submit the assignment already, right? So you can see these are good planning, okay? Or I don't know, maybe some of these students, they got a lot of free time, they can finish on time, like Alexander, okay, or Vincent Lee, and a couple of people, right? So these are people who time management very good, right? When they are free, they try to finish it on time. There are some students, I still have it. Okay, last few labs, still got people ask me extend. So I have to keep going to the system to change, right? So it's like a moving target, right? So why is that so, right? Why is that so? Obviously, time management, right? I know there could be some reason, good reasons, like got COVID lah, got hospitalized lah. So if you know that something like this, then you got to plan ahead and then do it earlier and faster, right? So similarly, assignment, right? So really people want to submit the assignment already, okay? So time feasibility, payback period. So payback period is also very important, right? So if you are a system analyst, you are a project manager, you also got to come up with a payback period. When is the payback? Where is the cutoff? Okay, so you know. Okay, so if you take on a project, you roughly know the payback period is 2 years. Just like if you go and start up new businesses, right? If you are given a funding like $100,000, okay, so you got to put in the cost, okay, and when is the payback period is going to come up, right? So if you're going to pitch your business to any venture capitalist for all these fundings, right, or any businesses, they will always ask you, when can you start paying back? They are more interested in when can they get back their money or payback period. So you can tell them 2 years, you will see some revenue, or 1 year. In 1 year's time, you can get some revenue. People like to hear that. They don't want to hear how technical, how complex your technical implementation. They just tell me, okay, how much it takes to get my money back, how long it takes. right? And it's up to them, right? If you say 2 years, right, or you want to be safe, 3 years, then you got to see whether they are happy to wait until 3 years before they can see profits, right? Unless they have other profits coming from other areas and they can see there's a long haul. Okay, 3 years is fine, but I can tell you 3 years always very long, right? So people will want to see it as 1 year payback period or 1.5 year payback period. Okay, reasonable enough to get some of the returns. So these are just some of the analysis. Of course, this time around, I also didn't ask you to do this kind of payback period. We didn't go in that, right? So you got to see your funding, your budgets that's given to you, minus off all the costs that incurred over the months, okay? And then finally, you come to the period where you use up all the funds, okay? And then there's revenues, okay, that can basically sustain the business that come in. So just a payback analysis. So these are also very important, right, in any business doing. Right. Next, we move on capacity planning. This is also you need the expert, you need the experience, right? How do you spec out properly? How do you do capacity planning, right? Like just now I mentioned 11/11, right? You know there's this period coming, based on last year. How much was the sales transaction? Then this year suddenly went up another 40%. So how are you going to get that sudden surge? Or how are you going to scale up your server or your network faster enough to handle extra 40%? You know, that's a lot. 40% traffic means a lot of people are coming online, okay, and they want to quickly buy. And you know, if you look at some of the sales, online sales, they're all got timing one. Okay, just like you take quiz, got timing one, got deadline. After you, if you didn't buy the thing within that time, either they no more discount, or some of the sales are based on the number of units they have, right? So they might, let's say, hair dryer or vacuum cleaner, right? They only got like 1,000 sets. So whoever complete the whole transaction will get the vacuum cleaner at a discount price. So everybody will be rushing in. Okay, when you have great discount for, let's say, 55-inch or 58-inch TV, flat screen TV, people will be rushing in to buy it at 50, 60% discount, right? So you can be sure there's going to be overwhelming subscriptions, okay, or transactions going on, right? Especially for hot flavored items. So you have to ensure that such users experience must be good, right? People will feel good. Hey, wow, so bad, I managed to get this item, and their website is so fast, I can finish the transaction within how many seconds, even though there's a lot of transaction coming in, right? So you must make sure that your network can hold the transactions, right? Can hold the speed. And that's where the hardware is very important. The kind of model, the kind of specification that you get to set up the whole network, okay, including the software, including the server. So it's a system, it's a whole system, right? You cannot have a very powerful server, a very powerful routers, a very powerful software, and a lot of server farm. Okay, everything, and you use the top-notch database that can run very fast, that runs on the Oracle database, very good software. At the end, there's one bottleneck, which is maybe the wire you choose is twisted pair, right? That might not be able to support, okay, where you should have just used optical fibers, right? So those are something. So all your system, okay, it will fail at the weakest link. It will fail at your weakest point. Okay, it's just like the security. Some of you study securities also, right? The whole security depends on how secure, how strong is your system, will depend on your weakest, okay, chip, or your weakest, okay, securities, right? Your weakest link, your weakest protections, right? It's not based on the highest. The highest will not have problem, but when it comes to the traffic, when it comes to the encryption technique, right? You boil down to the little hardware that you have, the cheapest that you try to cut costs. right? So some of them, they basically run computers. That's why during capacity planning, some will do simulations, right? To simulate, to save costs. But sometimes it's not just possible to simulate. Like, for example, you're going to develop e-commerce transactions, e-commerce server that can, like, let's say you're doing a Alibaba transaction server, right? Alibaba transaction server, a lot of transaction going on, a lot of payment, a lot of people browsing the website. So your transaction server has to be very fast, right? And handle the number of transactions coming, millions of transactions coming. We're talking about global sales, you know, it's a global sales, right? You're not going to restrict, right, US citizens from transacting on Alibaba website, right? Right? Or transacted. Okay, so you got to handle those kind of traffic. It's just enormous. So you really need a lot of and how do you, and when you have a development, how do you simulate that thousands or millions of transactions? You can't be getting everybody to try for you, right? So you might need to run computer simulations such as load balancing, right? To scale up the kind of simulated transactions, right? So there are programs that can actually, there are tools that can do it, right? So that's why you have specialized test engineer, test network engineer. They have got all these tools and they know the various test cases, test scenario, to test your application, to test your system, to test your network traffic, right? So that's why there's professional who are professional tester, right? They basically know how to test, and they will test and they will try to fail your system. Okay, their proud moment is they can crash your system. That's their proudest moment, right? I've done it before, right? I was a development engineer, right? We have another department who are test engineer. They will feel so happy if they can fail your system. They can find a bug in your system, right? And that is their job. Okay, if they fail to find any test system or weaknesses, or they can't find any bug in your system, they're not doing a good job. Okay, and what happens if it's been deployed, then all the systems start to fail, and that's where they fail. So you'll find that some of these testers, they are really there to just to fail your system. They will try to do a lot of stress tests, okay, a lot of load balancing tests to ensure, okay, they will test constantly over the days, lots of months, and they will slowly ramp up. Okay, they do a lot of stress tests, right? So these are important. So they use computer simulations. So network traffic is the same also, right? So you must be able to simulate that enormous millions of transactions coming in, right? To ensure that your system, the server runs, right? So you can't wait until the big days to test it, no? Okay, so you wait until the big days and then it breaks, then you got a very bad reputations, right? So you need to find a way to baseline, okay, baseline, and so that you can help in your future network needs. Just like how do we know $50,000 network setup is good enough for a 20-man companies, right? Maybe we based on some experiences, a typical small office environment setup. Okay, so about 20 staff, usually you need about 50K based on some prior experience. So when it comes to this, then you benchmark 20 people manpower office would need about 50K. So if you have like 40 people, okay, a company of employee size 40, then you must scale it up linearly, right? So since 20 is 50, then 40 double must be maybe 100K. So these are also based on estimation, based on baseline that you have derived previously, and it was a successful one, right? Of course, you don't baseline based on something that is failed, right? Something that's worked. So baseline is basically collecting based on historical, based on experiences, based on hearsay, based on some of the prior projects that you've done, so that you can baseline it, okay, so that you can base on that to do some proper projections, okay. Right, so you also need to find out about the utilization levels, okay, how much is being used, what is the average network traffic, what is the utilizations of certain application server, what is the utilizations of certain printer, for example, right? Sometimes you buy printer, you also want to find, hey, actually every month how how many printing job did we do, or how much A4 size paper do we need, right? So people have to know, right? So that the next month they can order enough A4 size paper. So what is the utilization rate for the A4 size paper, right? Is it heavily used? Is it underutilized? Okay, so if it underutilized, you might not want to get such a heavy duty kind of photostatic machines. Okay, or you might get a photostatic machine that comes with multiple features, right? Other than photostatic machine, it can also serve as a printer, okay, a network printer, so it can double two as one, right? So you can even plot out the network traffic. So these are sometimes we do some network analysis then to check when is the peak period. So you can see that over a few days, right? Or even these are the daily. So you find that yesterday, the peak hours is usually in the morning, okay, and sometime in the afternoon, and then sometime in the mid-afternoon. So you need to realize where is the peak period and what is the usage level, right? So you can see that, oh, almost about 50, 70 people, right? But then you don't go and spec out, okay, server capacity, network traffic based on the maximum, okay? Because if you base on the 70 like here, only because just that you don't want the server to be underutilized, right? But you spec out everything at the highest, then it will be very costly, okay? And only serve only a few minutes of time, okay? So you are not fully utilized, right? You're underutilized, right? So you might want to spec out the average, right? And on those peak period, okay, then you scale up some of the resources, right? So which you can use some load balancing software to switch over when there's a sudden surge, okay, then you'll switch over to the second server, right? So you might not want to spec your first server, your primary server, as something that can basically handle 70 over users, okay, concurrently, right? So this could be concurrent, no, right? So specking up the capacities, the server is also important. It's also a know-how. Okay, it comes with experience. Then there's also the mean time between failures, okay, and also mean time to fail. These are two different things, right? Mean time between failures is if your printer failed today, what's the chances that you'll fail next month? Maybe you'll find that, hey, this printer every month fail. So that is the mean time between fail, right? Every month will fail once, sure one, right? Or every 2 months or 3 months. So you find out, just like next time you buy a car, you also have an estimate, right? So there's certain behavior trend. So this is something that's important for you to find out, right? So that before it fails, you make sure you have maintenance, right? If you know your printer or your network going to fail in 1 month time, well, before 1 month, you get somebody to maintain and just repair. If there's any wear and tear, you basically try to replace them, right? Just like your car, right? So so like typical car servicing is always every 6 months, okay? Because there are all other wear and tear that can come by, right? So typically that's the mean time between fail. And of course, unless you're some who don't mind failing and then having some breakdown, right? Then you drive until breakdown, right? Save cost, but there are people who don't want to have that. So they find that every 6 months, you need to send for regular maintenance so that at least the car always no breakdown, right? Before it break down, you repair, you replace with the new parts. Okay, so that is the mean time between fail. Then mean time to repair means how fast you can repair. So if you fail, just like the train, the MRT train, right? So they also know, right? After got signal fail, how much time they need to repair, right? They have to have a kind of time, right? The control station will call the engineer, activate the engineer. The next few things they will ask, so how long it take to repair, right? If it's going to take more than half an hour, right, then we will say, okay, we just let the passenger know delay by half an hour, right? If it's going to take more than 1 hour, well, then we have another actions that need to be kicked off. Then we have to get the passenger to come out from the train, and then we're going to start calling the buses to come by and then pick up some of this crowd, right? So you have to come up with the mean time to repair, right? So how else will you know, right? An experienced engineer will be able to advise you, right? Or this one, well, it's going to take a long time, it's going to take a short time, or we can fix it, don't worry, right? Don't need to alert, okay, LTA or whatever, right? So mean time to repair. So you also, whoever do the maintenance must make sure that this mean time to repair must be as short as possible, which means that the people who repair must be very experienced, right? And they must quickly be able to resolve the issues and will not happen again. So that's why a lot of these service provider, like the Singtel, M1, or even the broadband or the buses, the MRT, they have got all these guidelines. What's the mean time between failures? What is the reliability? Must be 99.999% uptime, etc. Right? So these calculations are not important, so you don't have to worry about all these calculations. It's about the availability. So this again is something that the project manager or system analyst can actually fall back so that they compute the availability based on certain trends, certain availabilities, right? These are reliabilities, right? So they also need to know what's the reliability. So you got to give them a view of how reliable is your network setup, how reliable is your Wi-Fi setup. Okay, so that depends on the hardware, software, and also the number of users as well, right? If always not many users, then maybe your system might not fail so often. But if you have extensive usage, then you'll find that that could be might be justifiable to get another access point to double up, okay, as a backup. Right, moving on, we're going to talk about a little bit on the ethical issues, right? So being a IT or technology guy, you must be abide by some ethical code of conduct lah, basically code of conduct. So you must make sure that, like for example, user customer data, you must safeguard them. Okay, you must ensure proper protections, right? You must not freely give away some of these personal sensitive data, especially NRIC, blood type, all these things. So you must make sure that any unauthorized access must be quickly dealt with. Okay, and even simple thing like printing confidential documents must be collected immediately and not leave it on the printer, which is a shared printer, and somebody might walk by and then conveniently see some of your confidential information like your sales code, the quotations. These are all very sensitive, right? If somebody know about your quotations, okay, for certain tender, they might review it to other competitors, right? Your competitors who know how much you're going to bid for the project, they might scale down, right? They might reduce some of the cost just to outbid you, right? Or your pricing list, okay, your cost price, okay, those are important, okay, informations, right? And sometimes even the manpower cost, right? Just when you think it might not be important. So there's also the morale, okay, and the legal and social issue, especially when we are dealing with social media. Okay, what can be said on the social media, what cannot be said on the social media. Even YouTube has the code of conduct, the morale, that you cannot say bad things, cannot use vulgarity, right? You cannot put up on a YouTube, okay, some pornography website, YouTube things. You cannot be also promoting gambling, okay? So these are things, okay, that is cyber ethics. There are things that can be do, cannot be do. It cannot be seen as somebody encouraging a lot of gambling, okay, or having drugs, okay, and also advocating stealing or even religions stuff, right? Saying bad things about certain religions, etc. So there's a lot of laws, policies that come in place, right? So you cannot badmouth someone. Also in terms of marketing, in terms of social marketing, right? In terms of competitors, you cannot say that M1 services is no good. M1 just because you are the Singtel influencer, right? You carry product for StarHub, so you must go and badmouth about some other service provider. So these are guidelines, policies that could be put in place, especially also politics, right? So and now you also got the PROMA laws, right? That you cannot just spread fake news, right? Fake news, right? So even things like COVID, okay, you cannot anyhow say, well, where got COVID, a lot of COVID, or mishandling of these COVID cases, right? So you have to be careful. So these are some legal and moral issues, right? That you have to undertake and also understand. Okay, so as a computer professional, okay, we have to know what is good and what is no good and that can cause harm, right? So we also have to ensure that we don't like keep following fake news, right? So now we have the PROMA rules that could come in to basically persecute you, right? If you go on and spread too much of this harm. Right, so same as in any like accounting, right? Even accountants, okay, you find that they also have the ethics. Even for doctors, right? They also got some of this ethic that they need to follow the professional code of conduct. Okay, like this, right? So for computer, they have the IEEE codes of conduct that need to be abide. Okay, so these are just professional codes that we need to ensure. So we need to be educated. What can be done, what cannot be done, and avoid hacking into somebody's website, okay, and do some phishing website or faking a website or faking a personalities, okay, or faking an IP address, right? Impersonating, okay, an IP address, all this. So these are all governed under some of these professional codes of conduct. Right, so I think that's about all I have to share for this particular lectures.